just a quick little spray we're doing. We've been blocking these fenders, and Ryan just sprayed them. Now that they've been hit all the way up to 220, they'll be ready for wet 4 and then paint. And he's getting ready to hit a coat of primer on the bed as well.
This morning we got the fenders finished blocking in 220 grit, and Greg and I got the bed off of it. So now I will go in and show you where we're at, which I do believe he filmed stuff, so you will see that inserted after this clip. And we got the bed all primed in its final stage. So it's ready for wet sand and paint, and both fenders as well are ready for wet sand and paint. They've been coated their final time. And then also just a little bit on the Corvette. We brought the engine over here. It's been in primer for a while. Just got to get this thing scuffed up. We finally got the correct paint, which took an extremely long time. So we'll be painting the engine first thing tomorrow morning, and then the truck is finally ready for the wet sand stage, like I just mentioned. So we will be wet sanding the fenders, the bed, the rear fenders, the grill shell is ready, and the cab as well. So we may very well see this thing in color within the next couple weeks. So yeah, we'll see. All right, guys, it's all painted and all done. So let's get a look at it here. Turned out pretty good. The paint was fighting with us a little bit, as well as our guns. Every once in a while, that kind of stuff happens, but we got her done. So here it is. And we didn't want this thing slicked out and perfect. So that's why you kind of see a little bit of orange peel in it, which is perfect for this because it looks original. So turned out awesome. I'm pretty stoked on it. So we'll let this puppy dry. And then once it's all dried up, we'll probably put another engine bag over it and store it up until the transmission's finished up, and then once that's done, we'll be able to put it in the chassis. All right, guys, a little more truck stuff. Got the all 4 fenders wet sanded in 400. And we're getting them wiped down, and a couple little things I got to spot prime on the front too. And tomorrow we should be prepping the booth and everything else to get these things sprayed in black tomorrow, which is huge. But yeah, here's the fenders. So they're looking pretty darn good. Just got these wiped down and cleaned up. Spare tire well is looking good. So got a really nice straight reflection, which is, let's see, we might be able to see it better in this one. So they're really nice. Got the rear ones done as well. They're drying. The other fenders back there. But yeah, gonna get these little spots dusted with a little primer, so tomorrow I can come in and wet sand those little spots and then mix up some black. And paint these things. So you'll probably, next clip you probably see, these things will be black.
Ryan's starting to paint the black, first coat of paint.
Alright guys, we got the truck fenders all painted. No wide angle for this shot because it kind of distorts the image, so I figured I'd leave it regular so you can actually see the panels themselves and see how good they look. So yeah, this is a single stage black, so it's not base clear, old school. He wants it to look old and be old, and that's what, you know, single stage is the closest thing to what they used back then. So yeah, anyway, I'm pretty stoked. This is a huge turning point for the truck, getting these fenders in paint, because especially the front two fenders were super rough. So anyway, let's see what we got. Just got done spraying them a couple minutes ago, so. Got a few pieces of dirt in it, but that's part of it. Hopefully I can find some before pictures of these fenders that I can insert in this video, but I'm not sure if we have any or not. If we do, you'll probably see pictures. Spare tire well, all painted. And then the other rear. So yeah, there it is. So it is Friday, so we're gonna let these suckers cure over the weekend. And after they cure, we'll put them in, probably wrap them in plastic once we know they're dry, and store them so we can get on the body, which I mentioned, you know, earlier on. So, ooh, forgot to show you one more thing. What I made a few videos ago, the rock guard, got it sprayed as well. It didn't have to be crazy nice, so that's why we don't really care too much about it, because it gets fully covered up and it's just there to eliminate rocks, which is why this is the underside that gets all damaged, which is why I didn't finish it. But this is kind of the side you see from the top just a little bit, so that's why it looks a little bit better. But yeah, I think that'll be it for now, and probably start filming more when we get the new carburetor to work with the throttle linkage, as well as getting the rest of the truck disassembled for wet sand and paint. Went ahead and got some pieces that I know need repainted. These things were painted long ago and we had to do some modifications to them, which I think I went over in a previous video, but this is the steering column, the actual sleeve. So we got to do a little bit of filler right here where we had to shorten it. Paint this, paint the gas neck, paint the headlight mounts, and paint the grill shell, or I should say the insert. Don't think I filmed this thing yet. These are super rare, hard to find in this good a shape, so we'll be priming and painting that as well, and I'll bring you along for that when we do it. Fenders are all cured up and looking good. Turned out really nice. He is pretty stoked on them. So I let those cure over the weekend, and yeah, they'll be ready to take out of the booth today and go get them in our parts storage area, get them all covered up so they don't get nasty. And there's only a couple, just some real light pieces of dirt, and each one of them was I'll just nib those out with a little wet sand and drag the buffer across them, and those things ought to be good to go. So I think they're exactly the kind of look he's going for the truck. Also got the other panels pulled out, ready to get on wet sanding those. Got a new carburetor to fix our linkage issue, so I'm about ready to bolt that on, so I'll probably show you that. So I'll take you along for the ride doing this carburetor swap and see if we can get this linkage to work. But yeah, what you can expect to see on this video is probably a little bit of the priming and painting of the fenders, and then up to what you see now, and maybe disassembling some stuff. And then I'll probably separate, you know, some wet sanding of the other panels and whatnot into another video. So yeah, let's not waste any more time and we'll get on this carb swap. All right, as you can see, I think I went over this in another video. We had to make an adapter plate for this carburetor. I think I got the new carb over here. Let's see, yep, here she is. All right, so what I'm gonna do first is get this carb off and then assess whether or not I have to use this adapter plate. So see what happens. Let's pull the carb off first. Then if I have to pull the adapter plate off, I'll do that after. Okay. Real-time carb swap. So let's get this new guy. All right. What we ran into with the other carburetor is when it bolted on, the linkage was in the wrong spot. Here, we'll show you. So, as you can see, they're sitting in the same position, but the way this linkage worked, it didn't have a good hookup for this portion of the linkage. Set up the opposite, and it was too high. So now, once we remove this cotter pin, which I probably won't be able to do. Oh wait, never mind, we got it. So what this guy will do is hook in one of those holes like that, and you'll put the cotter pin through it. And let's see if we can make this thing work. All right, as you can tell, oops, popped out. And as you can tell, everything's working. You can see the throttle way back in there. Darn it. You can see the throttle back in there. So, all right, what we'll do is bolt this carb down, and then I'll get back with you in a second and we'll see how this thing really functions. All right, with a little fiddling and playing and swapping and tinkering, end up removing the adapter plate that I showed you guys and bolted it right back down to the factory riser, and had to swap this rod over because I noticed it was hitting the manifold. So I was like, duh, probably goes on the inside of this part of the bell crank and then has this factory bend in it to clear the manifold. So now, if you watch up here, This linkage portion is attached to the throttle blade shaft. So whenever I hit the throttle, which is like my foot's on the gas back there, if you watch, we now have full throttle. It lays perfectly flat. And I already shined a light down there to make sure I was getting full throttle. So the only thing we'll need is a better, shorter return spring, because I think we put that on there for when the carb sat, I don't know, let's see here, probably inch and a half higher with this adapter plate. But yeah, we got full throttle now. So that's some very good news. I'll have to do some, if you look at this, might be able to see it in here. This is really worn out because, you know, it's a 1934 piece. So what I'll do is probably weld up around there, build it up and smooth it back out so it doesn't have that wear portion in there. And should be good to go. Whoa, hey now. So what we're gonna do now that we got that all dialed in, which is huge. No, sorry, this portion goes up here because if you look, that's actually for like a cable throttle. Pretty old school, but it'll sit up like that because the cable will be attached to it, and then that'll do that right there, and then this piece won't fall because it'll be held up in place with a cable. But yeah, what this means now is, now that we know this works, we can take the cab off, these front cab mounts and the grill shell and all that, and wet sand and get ready for paint. So hopefully we'll start seeing some green thrown down on this thing next week. All right, we're getting some wet sanding done on some more panels. I think I left off showing you guys the front fenders, but starting on this door, as you can tell, I got the guide coat on it. So we're wet sanding this in 400. And Graydon got this door done just a little bit ago. As you can tell, it's still wet. So that thing's ready for paint on both the inside and the outside of the door. And then he just got done wet sanding the grill shell. So it is now ready for paint. And then I just finished up the column sleeve, whatever you want to call it, goes over the actual steering shaft. Just got it painted. So it's done. And then we are actually going to pick up the truck paint at lunch, the actual green color. So we'll probably show you that when we get it. He's wiping down the door, he just did. And then we just got the hood left to wet sand and the bed. So this thing's getting pretty close part-wise, and then we're gonna get the cab off after lunch. And it needs wet sanded as well. So we're getting pretty close. So I'll probably film something with the paint when we get it. All right, guys, pretty heavy on the truck stuff here. I think I went over yesterday on getting the panels wet sanded, what all we got done. This morning, got a early start this morning and got the cab all ready, got all the stuff out from inside of it, got all the cab mounts out, got the front cab mounts off. And as of right now, I'm getting the wheels put back on it. So then we can set it down on the ground and move the truck more over to the middle of the shop. So when we get the dolly out, we can actually just go carry the cab straight over the back and set it down. So we're on the final steps. So we'll be wet sanding this cab today. And this thing may be in color. Well, there might be some portions of it in color today, and I'll probably go over that with you on how we do, I guess, the steps of the paint process on like getting the jams done and dash and everything. So yeah, I'll probably do another little segment on that later on when we get there. So as for now, we'll go ahead and get this cab off. All right, we got the cab off. Didn't end up filming any of it because we did it really quickly. So got it back down on its cart. And got Graydon up there starting on the wet sanding. So we should have this thing done today. And all wet sanded and ready to do the jams and stuff. And I'll go over why we do what we do later on. And got chassis pushed over in the corner and plastic off. And I just painted the splash aprons that run down the side of the truck. Just got to do about 2 more coats on those, and then probably show you a little video when they're done. Alrighty, end of the day today. Got those splash aprons all done, and we got the cab fully wet sanded inside and out. So that puts us in a good position tomorrow, because tomorrow we will be prepping the cab. And by that, I mean, I got a little spot I got to fix right here, which is why the tape's there to mark it, which is always a good idea. If you ever see something, mark it so you don't forget it. But we'll come through and wax and grease this thing and wipe it all down. And that'll get us all prepped for paint. And we'll be doing the door jambs first. So why we do that is we want the doors on this thing to spray it. So we're going to spray these door jambs first, and we'll tape and plastic off the other parts of the truck, and we'll spray the dash. And then once that stuff cures, we will tape the painted stuff off and then hang the doors on it and then spray the whole cab as one unit. And then when you pull the tape, you'll have just a little line on one of these corners, and you just kind of wash it off with some high grit wet sandpaper. So that's where we're at there. And got the splash aprons all painted. So they're done. Ready to rock. So we're letting those cure out. Just sprayed those before lunch. So, also just got to wet sand the bed. That's the last thing to be wet sanded. So hopefully we'll be seeing some color on everything by the end of the week. If not, very beginning of next week, we'll just kind of see how this thing cooperates. So if you think about it, give us a like. You can comment if you want, and subscribe.